Welcome back, everyone. Bonnie Krowski, Project Change Consultants. Today, I am here to teach you about the HEADS framework. This is a new process for learning and development departments that's going to make AI and Agile way more friendly. Ever since I first learned about the HEADS program, I haven't been able to go back. I don't use Addie anymore, or Sam, or Llama. I have successfully moved forward, and I'm really excited to share this with you. So HEADS is an acronym. The HE stands for Hybrid Exploration. During this part of our processes is where we're doing things such as needs assessments, we're doing gap analyses, we're doing everything that we can to bring it together and make it much better for what we're going to be developing on the floor. In this process, we're going to be planning on objectives, working with our customers to determine what the goals are for what this training is. Normally, in like say an ADDIE process, we do have analysis phases. The difference is that we're going to be operating in a real-time framework. That real-time framework then becomes very agile and iterative as we move forward. It doesn't need to be formalized before we move forward. We just need to have those ideas and we need to be ready to go. Now, part of this first process is it's no longer going to be covered by an instructional designer. It's going to be covered as a part of an intake process. An intake process is going to allow the person needing the training to specify who is the end user of this training, how many people are being trained, what is their locations, do they have access to computers? It's also going to identify if they have any content already, what the gap is from, say, the last software to this upgrade. So it's going to be able to break down a lot of things before it even gets to our hands, and then a scope document is formed. That hybrid exploration task is going to be moved to a program manager's role. That is going to be something that gets done before you ever see it. No longer are you going to have to wait weeks on end to get all that information. It's going to come quickly to you. So what happens after the HE in HEADS, hybrid exploration? What happens when it comes to you? Well, right away you get moved into the A, which is an agile design. Agile design is an AI term that talks about design thinking. We get to do design thinking. Isn't that exciting? We get to do rapid prototyping. We get to do feedback loops that are live and not waiting for us to develop to the end before we kick it back to a SME. We get to go through innovative, customized learning for people. And we get to utilize whatever technology we have to do to get it to that point. Now, part of that, obviously, is instead of doing long storyboards, because it's real-time feedback, we're going to start with outlines. So we're going to take this scope document and we're going to build an outline for the course because we're going to have the content gathered and at our disposal ready to view. A part of that outline is going to be the fact that it could be shared. In many common softwares, you know that this is true now, like say Storyline, there is a link that you can generate that you can send to your SMEs for real-time feedback. Our outlines are going to be no different. Now we're using things like Microsoft 365 Dynamic to be able to share our documents. So if you still want to develop in Word, you can. And with the help of a lot of AI software like ChatGPT, we can be rewording things that they already have in manuals. We can be using AI to extract content from manuals now. So our outline is going to start to give us an ability to set up our framework and stuff in our e-learning or our classroom documents. This even applies to document specialists who are doing manuals or job aids. So we're looking at design thinking and rapid prototyping, real-time feedback, which eliminates the back and forth SME review process. We're asking the SMEs to be engaged on almost a daily basis to correct us where we go wrong, or to give us tips or tricks on how to move forward, or to continue to add things that weren't initially discovered that they discovered. And they have a time period now that they're going to have to do that in. This is not going to be something that drags out forever anymore. Once we get through the A in HEADS, we move to D. The D in HEADS is called deployment, AI deployment. A part of this phase is the change manager now steps in with implementation strategies. We've now been heads down developing our stuff at the same time, concurrently with our development. Our change manager, scrum master, agile manager, whatever you're going to be calling them in the future, is working on our implementation plan for us. They're reviewing our work for grammar and punctuation. No longer do the SMEs need to be responsible for that or your fellow teammates. They're busy too. We are doing adept materials, which means if the change manager sees what we're working on and we say we need some job aids, they can kick it to the documentation person to get done while we're working on the e-learning. When we're doing continuous monitoring, we're constantly involving and tagging with @ symbols in the names of our SMEs. Hey, look, we changed the sentence. Is this correct now? How do we want to do this? I think we're missing something here. So our SMEs are more involved on a daily basis, which makes them more comfortable to the final deliveries. After that, we have feedback cycles. We don't need to sit there and wait for feedback cycles because it's coming in real time. No longer are you sending things away for long SME reviews or hoping they're not on vacation and trying to find somebody else that will do the review for you and do sign off. We're not adding any more people in the picture at this point who are going to come in with differences of opinions. Our line is streamed, very streamlined at this point because of AI. Each one of those tasks can now be associated to different AI softwares and tools to help us do them more efficiently. There are now a ton of tools, and we will, during the course of these series, be covering certain tools, and we will be critiquing them as fellow L&D experts on how we feel those tools are. But remember, AI is still new for everybody. We're all still navigating this. The tools might not be 100% perfect to what we need yet. But rest assured, people like myself are working with a lot of these AI software companies to get them to where we need them to be to do the jobs we're already currently doing. And I've talked to some wonderful AI folks who have the programmers working on everything for me. Even things like being able to take a manual and go into software and capture the screenshots and put hotspots for us. One of the most tedious tasks. Also the editing. And I know that that can be very tedious for back and forth edits. So we are working very diligently to bring those up to par and to have those softwares available and ready soon. In the meantime, when we get through the heads and we get to deployment, we still have one letter left, and that's S. S is for synchronization. Synchronization is a change management responsibility, or Scrum Master, no longer the ID role. It delays and stops instructional designers and learning developers from moving on to the next course and getting the next course ready. So we have pushed this back to the Scrum Manager, Agile Manager, Change Manager, who's going to be leading these roles. They will evaluate effectiveness. They will run their KPIs. That's what they do. That's what change managers do. Let them do it. It's going to align the goals and objectives at the beginning with how we did with developing the course so that they can go back and give that feedback to the program managers and above and say, we built this course based on and aligned with our company and organizational goals and our objectives for this course. They're going to be getting real-time feedback after a course is published, and they should be able to go in and make adjustments as needed. And that includes being able to tip us when something big is coming down the line or something we've already developed is about to go through another change or when it's going to be outdated, because they will be tuned into these SMEs. That is what change managers do. So let them be a part of the process and be able to communicate that to their teams. On top of that, they're going to stay on top of emerging trends in L&D so that they can inform the program managers if new software tools are going to be needed for their teams. They're going to know what their resource schedules are like. They're going to do everything to make sure that their instructional designers and instructional technologists and learning developers are free to actually do the development. That gives instructional designers plenty of time to delve into things like VR and AR, because we can now use our time effectively and with creativity, and we're not going to be constantly interrupted anymore, and there's not going to be a ton of meetings that we don't really need to sit through. We could focus on our jobs and do what it takes to create the best level training that we can. So the heads process breaks that down into those steps and then aligns people's positions to those goals. As an instructional designer, your job is going to be, under the heads framework, specifically in the design phase, the agile design. That is the A and the D, partially D, because that's a little bit of deployment of the heads process. And in that, you're going to learn more in these chapters and sections that we're going to be videoing about design thinking. What does AI design thinking look like? What kind of tools are there for design thinking? We're going to delve into what rapid prototyping looks like. One of my favorite programs that I like to use is Miro. It keeps my SMEs on top of things and what I'm publishing and what I'm doing. I get to tag them in that. They get to do real-time feedback on just a slide here or there as I go, so that I don't need to stop and delay things. I can do things in very small chunks, even by the slide. So that is going to help with our rapid prototyping. Plus, using different softwares for those tools help bring it together. If you want a scribble tool, you want a video capture tool, you want to just do a regular slide-by-slide tool, we can now bring it all together successfully with our rapid prototypings. Our feedback loops are very important. Miro helps a lot with that. There are other softwares too that you can do this as well. And I am a strong believer in Kanban boards. So I like Asana and Trello and other boards that can allow us to tag people and ask for their feedback. Understanding and choosing technology is going to be a thing for instructional designers. And it's going to go for about the next 3 years. We love our Storyline 360. We love our Rise. We love our Captivate. We love our Camtasia and our Snagits and all these other tools that we've become fond of on a daily basis. But so much more has come. I know one of my favorites I've been using has been Canva, and I could create small videos in Canva and I could put them into a slide in Storyline. And so there are many, many more that have hit the market, and we will be going through some of those over time as I explain how I use them as an instructional designer and how it benefits me and saves me time and energy. In the meantime, instructional designers need to realize that their role is going to be drastically changing and things are going to be taken away from them. However, don't be discouraged. When you got in this business to be an instructional designer, you got into it because you're a creative individual. You know how to analyze something and break it down so people understand what you're talking about, and they know how to learn. You're great at training people. You're great at breaking it down for easy learning. Some of these other skills, like managing project management reports, you're not in it for that. That is not your skill set. So we're going to take away those things that aren't your strongest skill sets. We're going to move them into people's hands that it is. And we're going to get your focus back where it needs to be. Learning new softwares, developing awesome training, making sure that you're spending your time productively and as quickly as possible, because your job's about to get real busy. You're going to have to retrain the entire staff at your organization soon on how to implement AI, or how everybody's going to start hiring these AI people to get them onboarded. And that's going to be your role. So take a deep breath, get ready for AI, and hope and pray that when you settle in your role, you've chosen the right role. If your biggest thing is not development, if you do not like development in software, please tell your Scrum manager, Agile manager, change manager that leads you that you would rather be in classroom training or in documentation or even working on the LMS side. We need people in all departments, but instructional technologists and instructional designers are going to be the highest need, and they need to know their stuff. You need to get certifications, not just in heads, but in VR and AR. You need to understand what level 1 through 4 storyboards are. You need to know how AI is impacting how we do things, how you can add your text to speech more successfully and capture your videos easier. No longer do you have to go and pay for all these images that you're trying to find to enhance your training, or come up with such elaborate user stories. AI helps with all of this. I've been using heads and AI software now for almost about a year. I can't go back. It has changed my life. And I have now gotten to the point where I can develop some training, if it's soft skill training, within a day or two. Some software training still takes a little while because we're still working on getting software that helps capture our steps for us. But our jobs are going to be much more difficult. People are going to start moving into a generation where they're expecting VR and AR interactions in all of the training. We are essentially movie artists creating movies for corporations, and that takes a skill set change. So in some of our videos, we're going to be going over some of those changes and those differences so that you can start to grasp onto what that's going to look like. In the meantime, a lot of the current software that we're using, like Storyline 360, is adapting to add AI to their platforms. It's not everything we need, but it helps. A lot of LMS systems are coming out now that are AI friendly or that run just on AI, where you could almost develop the course and launch it in their programs. And I've been loving testing this, so I can't wait to bring these results to you. However, in the meantime, just rest assured that if you're a classroom trainer, your job has also not gone away. You're going to be in very high demand as well. Your role is going to be shifting dramatically too. You're still going to have to do design thinking and rapid prototyping, but of classroom documents, skills, and activities. You know, when I started about 20 years ago in the business, our activities in a classroom used to be things like everybody support somebody when they fall off of a tree limb backwards, because that's what you're supposed to teach your students in class, is how to trust. But now things are different, and our classroom trainings and our classroom activities have been downsized. We have icebreakers and things like that, but things are rapidly changing in that front too. Incorporating videos, incorporating real life scenarios, incorporating AR and VR in classrooms is a reality. And soon we're going to have holograms, and those holograms are going to come down and talk to your students as well. So we're going to get into some things on that. And let's talk about our documentation specialists and our BAs. A BA's role is never going to change. You still have to test the software. You have to document everything. Documents, though, are going to be done a lot easier, and that's with AI's writing help and content delivery help. Those documents that could then be populated to be converted into things like e-learning and classroom training. So we're really going to need those documents. And we're always going to need the job aids, but job aids are going to look very different. They might be posted online just as tips or tricks, or in tiny little videos now, because that world is changing too. And sometimes job aids might just be in a newsletter that a change manager is sending out. So that whole entire world of documentation will be changed, and the writing styles for those will be dramatically different thanks to AI tools like ChatGPT. LMS, you're still going to be doing your LMS stuff. You're still going to have to register people for courses. You're still going to have to test out all these courses. But not everything's going to turn into a course anymore. Not everything's going to have to be pushed up there and watched and reviewed. Not everything's going to have knowledge checks anymore. So your role is going to be dramatically different. It's going to focus a lot more on certifications and certification courses of the students and the learners that work in your company. The backtracking and history of what's been watched is going to change, and these AI tools for LMSs are very different, and they're becoming more user-friendly. So it's not going to take such a rocket scientist to manage a big LMS system anymore. And so we're grateful for that, because then you could always bring other people in to help you as you need it and during rush times. So everybody hang tight. We're going to get into those roles in software as we go. In our next episode, we're going to talk a little bit to the change managers who are going to become the agile managers of L&D and what their roles are going to entail. And we're going to deep dive a little bit into that. Then in the courses that follow, we're going to start talking about these steps and heads and how each step correlates to different tasks, and those tasks correlate to software. So when everybody else is pushing AI software and everybody's trying to get on to some AI software for their teams, if they don't have their process in place, then they're wasting money. You only need the tools for the jobs you're going to do. And a lot of the AI software right now, unfortunately, is gearing their stuff to the ADDIE process. When you move into AI and you don't have those processes anymore, it's going to be very difficult to say you've spent the money on the right software. So unless your software fits into one of the topics under the HEADS framework, don't buy it yet and hang tight, because all of that is coming. Stay tuned, everybody. Nice to see you again. I'll see you next time.